All right, so hello everyone. Pleasure to be here and link up with you guys today. So, as always, depending on where you're in the world, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I hope you're doing great. So, just to start things off, as usual, with the introduction of what brings us here today, being the Telos X Memo hackathon slash boot camp that we went through last week as well. I hope all of you guys are doing great this week. So agenda today is just basically simple, just kicking off this week's hackathon and giving you all the info you'll need in terms of rules, in terms of what exactly is expected of you guys and your projects. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or in any of our communities. Myself and the rest of the team here at Memo will also be willing to help assist you and answer any questions you may have as well. Just another thing to note as well is I need to give a brief introduction for myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Gerald Sule. I'm the technical lead here at Memoy and basically a go-to person for whatever info you may need in terms of this week's hackathon. So, just to get things started, thank you for joining us today and also being with us and interacting with us throughout last week as we were talking about the boot camp. And also, for those of you guys, I know you've already formed teams and started talking about your project ideas. We love it and we love being able to interact with you and seeing some of the great things that you're actually about to work on or that you're coming up with as well. And I know I've heard a couple of things here and there, just a couple of sneak peeks in terms of the projects you're building, and it's going to be an exciting week. So, just to kick things off, I'm just going to be telling you guys more about what we're going to be doing. So, for this week's hackathon, running from today, which is Monday, all the way through to Wednesday this week, so that's the 13th to the 15th of November. We're gonna just be going through building the specific project ideas and solutions that we've come up with specifically on the Telos EVM or the Telos ecosystem. And as you can see, our theme for this hackathon specifically is transforming everyday challenges with Telos EVM. The reason we chose this theme is because devs are creative and so are the tech enthusiasts and maybe other people you're interacting with in your teams as well. And we don't want to limit your creativity or maybe the things that you could come up with as well during the 3 days of this hackathon, as long as you're basically showing that this is a solution that is close to home for me, something that I believe will help out a lot of people, and it's built on the Telos ecosystem. We love it, and you're good to go. In terms of the deadline for registration, unfortunately for the guys who slightly missed out on the link, the registration closed this morning. So all the over 260 participants who've been able to sign up and engage with us in the community groups and talk to us about their projects, welcome. And we love having you guys as part of the Memoi community as well. So I've talked about the theme, but briefly let me also highlight on the bounty rewards. As you can see, we have a huge prize pool available to you guys. So the bounty for this particular hackathon is 25,000 Telos tokens, which is actually amazing and quite substantial as well. So cheers to the Telos Foundation for supporting us and actually just partnering with us in this specific hackathon, just to see what you guys can build and how we can also help support the projects that come out of this as well. So into the specifics we go. So I'm just going to briefly go through the hackathon rules in terms of things to expect and what we'll basically love to hear from you as well, just as we continue with this particular setup. So first things first, this is a hackathon where we're promoting collaboration across people from maybe different countries or regions, or you could just be a couple of friends looking to build something. So if you want to participate in this hackathon, I'm sure you've been forming teams over the weekend and have been able to interact with you guys. First things first, no team should have more than 5 members, and at least one of your members should be a lady, just to encourage that diversity as well. And another thing to note is, just as a word of advice, you can't all be back-end devs in the same team. You need to have different perspectives and people with a different skill set, just so they can see solutions from a different perspective and mindset as well. So if you have a diverse team with people with different skill sets, awesome, well and good, you're good to go. And another thing to also note is that we're encouraging a lot of creativity. So don't try and maybe find a project on GitHub or on YouTube or on Bitbucket and try and incorporate it into what you have. We'll be able to notice, and it's kind of not what we would be expecting from you guys. You guys are creative, you're amazing devs. I'm sure you can come up with something great that the whole community can actually benefit from and also learn from as well. Then another thing would be, this is a purely virtual hackathon, as you've already noticed. So maybe you'll be part of teams with people from different countries, which is also key, just in order to allow yourself to grow and interact a bit more with other people as well. And those are just some of the things that we're looking at. One thing to note is, as always be respectful within the community. We won't be tolerating any form of discrimination or maybe bullying or any negativity. That would be really sad to see. But so far, so good. Everyone has been amazing, engaging, very respectful, very fun to interact with as well, and I'm happy to say that as well. So that's just a brief on the specific rules in terms of what we'll be able to be looking at. And another thing is, you'll be getting certificates for those of you being able to sign up and participate in this hackathon. There'll be NFT tokens that will be, or basically NFTs that will be shared with you after this hackathon is complete, just to show you know what, you're part of the Telos and Memo hackathon and part of our larger Memo community as well. So just to appreciate you guys, will also be getting NFT certificates for that. So cheers to the Telos team for also helping us provide that, and also just as a way of encouraging people to continue building and learning within our ecosystem as well, which is actually great and pretty key and important. Another thing I'd like to note is, for your particular projects, the deadline for submitting your projects is gonna be on Wednesday, 7 p.m. if you're in East Africa, 5 p.m. if you're in West Africa, and let's say around 4 p.m. UTC, just to give guys time to build and actually come up with something robust. So we'll be checking in with you every day in the community channels. As always, there's a link to my calendar that's always being shared on the group. If you have any challenges that you want myself and the team from Telos to also help you with, feel free to reach out to us by setting up a scheduled call, and we'll be happy to discuss more with you in terms of some of the challenges you may have and how we can actually go about working around that, which is pretty important as well, just in terms of what we're looking to achieve. At the end of the day, it's all about collaboration and just supporting each other. And actually, just a correction, I think I said 7 p.m. Sorry, the deadline for submitting your projects, actually we decided to extend it because we realized because of the time zone. So it's actually 12 p.m. EET, not 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. if you're in West Africa, then 9 p.m. on UTC time. So those are the specific deadlines. So at least you have ample time. We extended it a bit because we saw, some of you guys may have things that you're doing during the day. So let's just extend it a bit, so at least you have the time to actually be comfortable and proud of what you'll be able to build as well. Just to reiterate, like I mentioned before, if you have any challenges, reach out to us via the chats, or you can set up a calendar or Google Meets with me as well, just to help you get through that. And as I mentioned before, the bounty rewards are 25,000 Telos tokens, and basically there'll be three potential winners for these prizes. So first place will be getting 12,500 Telos tokens in terms of the best project based on the assessments and everything that we've looked at. Second place will be getting 7,500 Telos tokens. Then third place will be getting 5,000 Telos tokens, just as a reward for the amazing projects that you've been able to build and share with the community as well. So in terms of when these prizes will be awarded, so we'll be with the hackathon concludes on Wednesday, we'll take about a week just to assess your projects and see what you guys have been able to build. Then during the Code Africa conference that's being organized by Memo, that's running next week as well, we'll definitely be able to announce the winners of this particular hackathon and for the specific bounties as well. So keep tabs on that when Code Africa is coming around. Make sure to join and listen in. You never know, your project might just be the one that's called out during the conference as well. So those are just some of the key insights into that. I'm gonna briefly mention about the submission criteria that we're looking at for the hackathon. So number one, there's a submission link that's being shared around the communities and also via email. If you've signed up for the hackathon, you should have received these emails as well. There's a submission link to your project. What we're expecting to see is a GitHub link to your project repository, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, whichever you're comfortable with. Make sure you share that link with us as well so we can be able to check it out. Also, make sure you come up with a pitch deck. You know, sometimes you can look at code, but we want to hear from you as well in terms of what exactly is your project about, what are you trying to achieve, what communities are you trying to impact, and that comes out really well in a pitch deck, and it will help us understand a lot more about your project. Then another thing to note is during that in that form you'll just need to have the list of all your team participants as well as the name of your team as well. Then share a 3-minute video or the link to that video on your project demo that you've posted on Twitter, tagging Memo Africa and Hello Telos, as well as the Telos developers Twitter handle as well. Then hashtags is hashtag build on Telos, and Memo Telos Hackathon. So all this info still in the groups and still in the emails that were shared with you guys. So make sure to listen in, and also just make sure to share so that also you never know, your projects might actually get a lot more publicity through Twitter as well. So maybe you may get amazing links and collaborations through that as well. So that's briefly in terms of what we're expecting you to submit. Like I mentioned, before 12 p.m. Wednesday, which is the 15th. That's if you're in East Africa. 10 p.m. if you're in West Africa, and basically 9 p.m. UTC time, depending on which time zone you'd be in. So that's just a brief on what we are expecting you to submit and the types of projects that we want you to build during the next couple of days. And I'm sure most of you guys have already kicked off your projects today, and I'm hoping the progress is going amazing and at least everyone is able to at least get started with something. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll be checking up with you daily, like on the communities, just to see how everything is going. And Nathan and team as well is also here just to help and support you guys. In terms of what we'll be judging and looking at for the projects, we're just looking at what solution are you looking at, what's the impact that you may have, how well have you implemented it in a technical way, and in terms of how's your code looking, in terms of code reviews, how's the functionality, is it actually working, stuff like that is what we'll be focused on as we try and just assess the projects that will be coming in the next few days as well. Before I get into anything else, just like I mentioned before, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and just interact with me as I also close this off. So I've talked about technical implementation, how innovative is your project, and what impact does this solution actually propose to have. Another thing is in terms of, does it fit within the theme? You know, we're talking about everyday challenges. So what problem are you solving specifically, and how is it helping the people around you? And I think this is now a good time to have a segue into another couple of things that I want to talk about, specifically hints and advice that I would give you as you're building your projects. This is in terms of, how do I know if the solution that I have is basically ideal for this particular setting? How do I know? How do I validate it? How do I know that it's actually going to help people? And one thing is that someone told me a while back is that you can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used to have when we created them. So just encouraging you to be creative, think outside of the box, Don't be afraid to try something new. I think that's the point of a hackathon, just interacting with devs and seeing what you can build. Can we build something cool, something helpful? That's basically the whole vision behind this. And another thing that I would actually like to mention as well is sometimes the best solutions are just outside your door. Look at your own setting, your own communities. Think about the challenges that you've experienced yourself, or maybe close people around you have experienced that you feel can be solved using the blockchain and using technology. That's the best place to start in case you're stuck or you're feeling a bit blocked. Like I mentioned, it's the things that you observe every day, things that you've heard about and probably experienced that are the best starting point in terms of what type of projects that you may want to build. Another thing to note is also it's good to empathize on people. I know sometimes as devs we can get so focused on the technology, getting so focused on how technical, how difficult was it to build this, and sometimes the best thing to do would actually just shift that focus from the tech and focus on the people. Solutions that actually matter, the ones that come from people and the ones that help the same people as well. So learn to empathize, hear people out, or just go listen in and remember the experiences that you've had. That will also be able to guide you to know, yes, I've found a theme, I've found a particular project I want to work on. Now, how do I design it? How do I implement it? Try and make it people focused rather than tech focused, such that when you're coming from this point of, okay, I know how people are feeling about this challenge, I know how it's affecting their lives. Now, I can look at how can I use this tech to actually solve this and fit into this particular sphere. Another thing, like I mentioned, this is why we're working in teams. It's important to collaborate, work together, brainstorm. That's the whole essence of a hackathon as well. So just making sure that you're all working together, you've empathized with your community, and you've been able to validate that my solution can actually help people, then you're good to go. And I think once you're done with that, you can basically clearly define, okay, this is my solution, this is who it's benefiting. Okay, what are the specific key objectives I'm actually looking at? Another thing, just as a word of advice to devs, like for the teams that I've been able to meet with and discuss a couple of things here and there, it will be great if you could come up with an amazing, ready to ship, production ready project. But however, we also need to pace ourselves a bit. So also define your objectives and what you want, just as a clear MVP of what type of project you're building. And hopefully, even after this hackathon, as you continue with it, you can also just come up with like a brief roadmap telling us, okay, this is what I've been able to implement during the hackathon. What's the future looking like for this project as I continue onwards as well? That will be key to help pace yourself so that you don't get too overwhelmed during the next few days. As you're building your projects, just know you just take things a step at a time. So build something that proves that your concept can work. It's key to what we're looking at as well. Then, if you want to continue with it later, which I hope most of you do and most of you are looking to do, just have a brief roadmap, not too detailed, but substantial enough to know that you have a guideline in terms of what you're looking to achieve specifically. And I think with that, you're all ready to go in terms of the info you need from the hackathon, in terms of support. I think we'll add all the links to the description as well, just in case you're not able to see them in the communities or via emails as well. I'm not receiving too many questions from guys in the chat. However, like I mentioned before, myself, Nathan, and team are all in the community group, so feel free to hit us up and just let us know in terms of any support that you may need specifically, and we'll be ready to go. So cheers everyone, happy hacking. Can't wait to see the projects that you'll be able to come up with.